Okay, so this evening we've got Nicky Hamid, who is an author and inspirational speaker and has taught psychology, self-awareness, and been a spiritual mentor while maintaining a therapy practice for over 50 years. He's conducted spiritual and awareness retreats and workshops in many countries, including the USA, UK, Australia, New Zealand, China, and India. Nicky completed his Ph.D. in psychology in record time and has taught at universities for over 30 years. He left his long-time position as professor of psychology in order to write, lecture, hold workshops, and mentor self-exploration for happiness and self-empowerment. He's become a renowned Ascension Wayshower. The underlying theme with all he does is with the touch of love. He is passionate about self-empowerment, and you're finding your own connectedness to Source, God, and your natural propensity to expand your consciousness and become incredibly happy. Nicky heals with words and has always had the ability to read where a person is coming from and what is the next step they could take towards their own happiness. He also reads the human collective mind and has an uncanny ability to present what the highest common factor of what humanity is asking about. He has been posting his writings almost every day on Facebook for the last 10 years. He has an uncanny ability to reframe the complex into something simple yet profound. He is unashamedly on a mission to share his gift of remembering with anyone who asks. His message is one of power of remembering who you are, the power of loving, and the power of a touch of kindness. He says, if you speak to me, I guarantee you will leave happier than when you came. This is what all human beings can do. So with that, I will hand it over to Nicky.
Unashamedly. I think with this unashamedly, to be unashamed, to be unabashed, to be confident in who we are. This is huge, and this is where we're coming to, because I would say if there's one thing that would help all of us and all humanity for that matter, is to love themselves, is to love ourselves, and to really love ourselves. Because we are so loved, we always have been. We have a company of heaven who have always been beside us. Every one of you has your own entourage. And it's time to bring them into our life. Because, you know, we talk about ETs and good people to help, but we've got a huge horde of mentors, spirit mentors, surgeons, technicians. When I say technicians, they're technicians of light who can alter and reprogram each our own auras if we ask. And the thing is, we don't ask. I mean, quite a lot of people do, but they usually ask when they're in desperate need, and therefore the energy, the feeling, they've only got that to go on, because they respond to your feeling, not your thoughts and your words, as much as your feeling. So I say, bring your company of heaven in your daily life. I'd do it with star beads. One day, I was sitting on the grass beside my raised bed with my hands in the soil, because I like to get really down to it. And friends ET friends, I felt them there. And I looked and I saw that there weren't just two adult beings, but there was a group of about 3 or 4 little ones. They brought their children to see what I was doing. And one had said, "What's he doing?" There's this being scrambling around in the earth with my fingers. And so I shared with them. And they were delighted. So we've got so much to share with not just them, but with the company of heaven, who are always there. And as soon as you invite them, they come near. But we are in the planet, in the solar system, in the universe of free will. We talk about freedom, but we live in the universe of free will, which means choice. We always have choice. And simply put, especially relevant in these times, but always, is I have a choice. Light on or light off. What we're seeing in the crumbling of the old system, in every expression of the old, is that it's not working. There's no energy to support it, and it's crumbling. It's expressed to its nth degree, what it's like to have the light off. So in every single given moment, each one of us is given exactly what we need in order to make the choice of light on or remain in the light off. How much do you love yourself? How much do you love who you are and who you are a part of? How little do you judge yourself, or how much? How little do you judge others, or how much? Light on, light off. It's so simple, it's difficult. But it is. You know, we talk about the hologram. We each have our own hologram. The movie out there is a hologram that you created, I created, my vision of it. We have a collective version of it, which allows us to make some connection in density. That hologram is entirely manipulable. But it's not manipulable through necessarily doing physically anything or thinking anything physically. It's about feeling. And so we have to relearn what we knew as children. To pretend, to imagine, and to have the feeling and the joy and the awe and the wonder and the excitement of what we create in our imagination, because that's how the new world will be born, will be created. Not through the physical necessarily at all. What comes first is the feeling. Your passion, your joy, your gratitude, your thankfulness, and only you can feel those things. And as the more you feel that, the deeper, the more subtle it becomes. In other words, it expands into your auric field, or you are responding to what is available in your own auric field. You're bringing in. So I often say that it's not about, we're not ascending, we're descending. It's soul being coming into embodiment. You, the real, the eternal you coming into embodiment. And the embodiment is the child-like. Not the child within, because it's already in your field. Every one of you. I mean, look at any baby. Don't tell me they don't come from God. Every single one, even if they turn out to be the biggest despot. They come in straight from God. And they make their choices. The soul gives them the direction, but they make the choices as human. So what choices can we make this next moment or this next day? We can feel the pressure of the ages upon us and all the conditions, but we can choose. I can choose smile in any given moment. All I need to do is put my hand on my heart and take a breath and close my eyes for a second, and I'm there. And when you're there, what is there? There's a smile. It's a slight smile of knowing. There you go, Nicky, going, doing your dance of frustration. Or there you go, Nicky, clumsy, kicking the chair again and hurting your toe. No judgment, just smile. That is who we are. And so we're learning to be quicker and quicker, being drawn into the play and then saying, hang on, let me take a breath. Hand on heart. I'm home. I'm home. Home is in your heart. And we're learning to do that quicker and quicker and to amplify that. And every time you make a move of a choice to light on versus light on, off, it goes into the quantum field and it makes it easier for the next person. This is why we're changing everything. The power of beautiful human. So it's about getting back to our innocence. The child is innocent. What do we mean by innocent? We don't mean ignorant. Now we're meaning innocent by inner sense. We spend more time directed to going within than we do being involved with the connected and attached to anything in the without. And therefore the energy of the truth of you starts to flow in. You get the opportunities, the synchronicities. And they happen in the simple moment to moment, day to day things. Somebody comes into your life. And they're caught up in some rhetoric. And instead of trying to convince them of some different rhetoric, you might talk to them about the weather or something where they can relate to. And you can leave them with a blessing, a touch of kindness, a touch on the shoulder. Countless times I've had meetings in the supermarket, inside and out, in the malls, and just met beautiful human beings who feel lost. But in those moments we touch, you just don't know how your kindness really can turn people around. I've had the good fortune over the years to have feedback, particularly with students, but having said something in a lecture or to them personally, and them coming to me 20, 30 years later and said, do you know when you said that? I don't know, I don't remember at all. it made me stop. And I made a different decision, and my whole life seemed to change. I'm not taking credit for being special, because any of us do this. We don't know how a touch of kindness, instead of looking for, you know, it's like this vaxxed, unvaxxed. Who cares? Who cares? There's a human being in front of you, whether they're vaxxed or unvaxxed. Whether you're vaxxed or unvaxxed, doesn't matter. How can I build a bridge between them and I in this moment? See the soul. See the loving soul they are. It's like, I know, because in they're in this group, a lot of you are involved and working and thinking around projects. And there's a sort of a dilemma here, because on one hand you're planning, but on the other, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what we don't know. So how do you plan? It's holding your passion and making sure that whatever you visualize still allows you to play with the deeper feelings of who you are. I mean, the excitement, not of seeing my plan work out, but the opportunity to touch another person with human kindness. Because that's what we're about, isn't it? I mean, you can say we can see that centralization is totally meaningless in terms of the progress of humankind, and we take the opposite, decentralization. You could see giving the will and the power back to the people. That we move from centralized to little community. We have a beautiful example of that here in New Zealand. We've been so fortunate, although it's very unfortunate. In another side, Hawke's Bay. The people of Hawke's Bay, how they rallied. They didn't get any help from the government. They're still not getting very much help from anywhere. But the goodwill and the goodwill that pervades them and has flowed through that area is inspirational. Now, this is happening all the time and has happened all the time. Our media doesn't show it. Or it shows it accidentally because it wants to show something else. But this is who human beings are. We've been so maligned. So we've got to break out those patterns, heal those patterns in ourselves. Lee and I were talking the other day about New Zealanders and so on, and how often it's hard because New Zealanders are quite flexible and generally very kind, but a lot of people are unwilling to take the lead, to stand out and put themselves forward, and understandably so, because there's a kind of humility that's natural to the Kiwi psyche. In fact, it's displayed to me quite clearly when somebody, when you go overseas and they say where you're from, and it's funny too when you tell them and they tell you we're New Zealanders, and it's way off being where we are situated geographically. But anyway, they want to know. Generally, when they're interested, they want to know. But when you come to New Zealand, the first thing a Kiwi says is, what do you think of New Zealand? As if we're unsure of ourselves. We want confirmation. We want people to say, you know, it's a good place. So it sort of represents a psyche that is kind of unsure of itself. And yet when it's time to muck in, and help somebody, Kiwis are there. So a big question, for example, as we go into the new age, the new that we're creating, how do you get people to come forward? And I think it's just being kind. I think it's just being, I mean, in all my years as a therapist and counselor and mentor, there are two things that people come for. No matter what problem they bring, no matter how traumatic, or no matter the degree of trauma they're going through. The first is they want to be seen. People want to be seen for who they are. And you can't just tell them. They know by who you are towards them. So this is where our genuineness is, where we don't have any hidden agenda. We just see the beauty of their soul because we know the beauty of our own soul. These are all things you know. I'm not telling you anything you don't really know. But the human nature is basically kind, basically nurturing, basically willing to stand up for the for those who cannot defend themselves. This is who we are. And it's interesting, we were also talking the other day about elementals. I see elementals and I have a great affinity for the elemental world. I mean, I saw elementals and fairies and gnomes and all the rest of it when I was young, and I never lost that. So, but each country seems to have, from my experience, a different expression. The elementals express themselves a bit differently, and the New Zealand elementals tend to be shyish. They don't come forward. They're like, they'll be in the bush and they'll hide behind a tree and peep out. Whereas you go to Australia and some of them are almost outright challenging. And we have, it's like New Zealand has this, it has all elements, but its major element that it expresses through the elementals is air and water. Those are the two elements, whereas in Australia, they tend to reflect earth and fire. And that fits. It fits the land, and the elementals fit the land. And I think as we came, as the settlers came, they must have been quite strong and independent to make that long journey and to set up their life and their community, which wasn't easy. They learned to be flexible. We say the number 8 wire mentality, where you can make anything out of anything. So they're all capable, but they're so busy being capable that they don't feel like being a leader. So perhaps if you're looking for people to come forward, it's about finding their passion or helping them to find their passion. And saying, well, you've got this to offer. I was talking to a woman today who was having trouble. She had set up an organization that was very successful, and it was community service one, but what with COVID and so on, it wasn't able to be very operative, and now trying to get back to that. She's having great difficulty getting a committee together and so on. And she's become disillusioned. So I suggested to her just to look at her passion. Why did you do it? What benefit was it to people? What did you see in them when they felt the effects of what you were doing? Because to bring the feeling back. So once you have the feeling, then you can ask your spirit, help, can you find me the kind of person who will do this? But in order to do that, you have to have the feeling and be able to share that feeling, because your spirit guides work on the basis of feeling. So the more we go in the heart and the deeper we go, the easier the messaging becomes. And they love pretend, because when you pretend, it's like anything goes. Nothing's limited when you pretend with your imagination. They like that because then they can start feeding your imagination with ideas, because you've opened the door by pretend. That's why kids are so joyful in their pretend. They have the presence that gives them the excitement and the joy. And so we're far too serious. We're just far too serious about this future. The light has already won. It's won. It's just human beings are slow to catch up. We get too damn serious. There are serious things, if you like, but they're not solved without heart. Anybody got any questions or anything you'd like to bring up at this point?
Yes, Andy.
You mentioned before, awesome speech too. What a wow, awesome presentation. Thank you very much. You mentioned before your spirit guides work on feelings. Can you explain a bit more about that, please?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we say that the feelings are beyond logic. You know, we talk about love, but when we talk about love with humans, mostly they're talking about the feelings they get when they're attached to somebody or something. But love is much deeper than that. And we're learning to drop the attachment and to have the feeling. Now, what is the feeling of? I cannot tell you. I can say that you feel more expansive, you feel warmer, you feel softer. And as you go deeper within yourself, that expands. I mean, when I talk to my high spirit mentors, or when I'm in the presence of them, the energy is so, so strong, but so, so soft. I can't grasp it with my head. So when I say feelings, they're feelings at different levels. There's emotional feelings, which are still feelings. And then there's intuitive feeling, the knowing. And that's connected to the mind, the higher mind. Because mostly when in conscious experience, we're dealing with the mental mind, the mind of logic and lack of logic. But that is like a structure. But in feelings, there's no structure. It's just a flow. So I suppose there are so many ways that you could paint this. You could say one is particle, the other one's wave. Feeling is wave, thought particles. So they're bits and pieces. Our hologram, in truth, everything is fluttering in and out of visual sight. It's going so fast that it appears to stay static. But it's just a fluctuating field of sensation. When the baby is born, they say that the baby experiences oceanic perception. In other words, there's just a field of sights and sounds, but none of it's separated. It's through learning, discrimination, and labeling that it learns to separate the world into things, and then you see them separately. But when we come in, it's just oceanic. So you can think of it as as you go back into yourself and go into this more expansive spacelessness, that everything becomes available. You have to focus or direct your attention in order to be able to see it, because it's all a fluctuating field. Now, where am I? I've gone away from feeling, but there haven't I?
Okay.
But gone. There's so many things that we have to point to, but we can't define them because they're beyond logic. But I say to you intuitively, you know when you know, don't you? That's a feeling. That's a feeling. But can you point to it? Can't point to it. It just is.
So the feeling outweighs the words. Like if you are conversing with your guides and you have a situation that you're calling for assistance for, are they more likely to read the feeling as opposed to the word?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. If you can share with them what your feeling is, say you're confused. What it's about doesn't matter. What happens is they will see in your auric field the light flickering or gone dull, and they will be able to go straight to that. When you say this is what I'm feeling, they will know exactly. Yeah,
Wonderful. Thank you.
it's huge, isn't it?
Go to Ray.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi, thank you so much, Prof. My point is, initially, you mentioned that no matter what sort of issues, psychological or issues which you dealt with healing people, there are two underlying things. And the one you mentioned is everybody want to be seen.
Oh yeah, I forgot the second one, didn't I?
Yeah.
Well, I think you know what it would be. What would you say it would be? To be loved.
Love.
Be
Yeah,
loved.
I was about to say, this is what I always means I have
Yeah,
realized. Always every single person is looking and wish to be loved.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And you think how difficult we find it to realize that we are loved. We've been loved. You have guides, mentors, soul family. And when you pop your clogs, because we're not here very long, you go back to their family.
Yeah.
They know you more than you know yourself, in a sense. because they know your full history. We're only privy to part of it. At present, we're learning to expand our consciousness. And they love you. I mean, and always have.
Okay, I have a question here, very strong and for years and years. So, as you know, we all go through our own way of journey. And the biggest and the hardest lesson when I found myself was, until today, self-love. No, not now. It is changing slowly now. But this is the first I remember very well. It was the self-love at the stage when we started realizing that for other people, we are ready to die or do anything, even the doormat and all those concepts, etc. And when I realized this, and this was something which I found the hardest lesson, to love your own self. Why? And it's not me. I heard many other people. Many other people like saying the same line.
Because
so that's my question now.
Yeah,
Why?
we've been given so many programs that say we're sinful. You know, look what human beings have done. That's who we are. It's a whole set of programs that have said, no, you can't be trusted. But I just ask you this, put your hand on your heart. Yeah, and close your eyes and take a breath. Just say, I am home. I am home.
I'm home.
Just feel that. Breathe on the ground, your bum's on the chair, but there's that smile. This is me, I'm here. But who's smiling? That's your soul being coming into embodiment. It's that simple. And so you love all the things you are. All the things you may have thought you've done wrong, you just there and smile. There's no judgment. It just is. And every time you do that, you heal. You heal all the unkind lies you told yourself through others, through the collective. Every day, the message is being broadcast out. And it's an unkind lie, beautiful human. That's self-love. No judgment. Aren't you amazing? It's so simple, darling. It's so simple. We make it so complicated. And the more you do it, the deeper you'll go. I love this Nicky fellow I created. I love him. He's just clumsy as one thing. But we're not, I mean, you don't go out spreading this to everybody. It doesn't need to, because it shows. It shows as you take them, as you're able to sit in peace with yourself. You're able to sit in truth with anyone. And some people you don't like. You know, there's some people I'd rather not be in the presence of. And I make a choice. But that's not saying anything about their worth. We have to make choices. That's not judgment. It's discernment. You know, I'd rather not be in the presence of that.
So here another question comes. Sorry if I'm taking another one, but it came just from this point: discernment and choice not to like. Suppose there is someone at spirit level, yeah, you understand. Maybe some people they're not ready, they're not willing to open, and there is, I'm putting in the word negativity or something, something which you know they're not going to, it's going to be unpleasant for you. So in that case, can we still keep on choosing discernment to be separate, to be away? So
why not?
End up self-judgment, oh, no matter what, we have to be so-called love of everyone or this.
I'm not going to say something, I'm not going to say when somebody's doing something that I think is destructive, I'm not going to say that's all right. I have, when you put your hand up here and you ask yes or no, you know, you have a question, yes or no, immediately you get a yes or no. I mean, you can walk into a room and you get a feeling about a person and you don't know them from a bar of soap, but you get this unpleasant feeling. You trust your heart. You trust your heart. That's not a judgment, because people are walking their path and they have things that they're learning, and it's not up to me to decide what they should learn. However, I don't have to put myself in that situation if I have a choice not to. And I don't want to. And when somebody does something, I get that feeling of no, not on my watch. I've seen enough spiritual groups to see how gurus and spiritual teachers lead people on through ego. Not on my watch. Now, sometimes I might say something, sometimes I might do a very strategic or rapid withdrawal. It is, outside it might seem like a judgment, and I am judging the situation, but I'm not judging the worth of a person.
Yeah.
And if somebody's hurting a child or somebody innocent, I will stand up. And I might even use opposing force. I don't know. Because no way. I made the decision myself, I might change it, that I don't want to leave this planet until there's not one child going to bed afraid. Because it's not right. Call it a judgment, whatever you like, but not on my watch. And we know what's been happening to the world. We know what's happening with all the trafficking. And thank God that there's a force that's actually physically helping these. Because it's gone on far too long. Just as, and we have a choice. The choice is, I said, light on, light off. And there is a choice point. And that we call shadow. You see, in a universe in which there's free will, to have free will, you have to have a choice. So shadow was created in this universe. It was created as a place of change, a place in which you could be and observe light and dark and make a choice. But over the aeons and aeons, the dark hijacked the shadow. And that's what we're dealing with. So you see, sometimes you don't know how it's come in your field, but I'll give you an example. I like to go to the mall and wander, feeling people and meeting them, even if I don't physically meet them. Just loving them and enjoying the variety and the difference. And my wife likes to go and she likes to shop. more than I do. Anyway, I could be coming back to the car, and my wife gets in, and something she says niggles me. Now, I know when I'm quick enough that that's not me. Shadow has jumped from somebody else in the mall into my auric field and touches one of my wounds. We're in a collective, and we are influenced by others. And so how do I deal with that? Well, I have a company of heaven, and I can call on my spirit technicians. Hey guys, I'm feeling this. Don't feel it's mine. Can you come and take it out? They'll go directly to the spot. There's your feeling. Sorry, what's your name?
It's Ray.
Ray. Right, this is yours. You know, I give the feeling. This is what I'm feeling, and they know exactly where it is. But I have to ask them, and they'll come in straight away and go like that. I'll no longer have the niggle with feeling with my wife.
Beautiful.
That's what happened all the time to us. So I'm saying we're going into a new world of unity consciousness. Why not bring your company of heaven with you and use them daily to help you with decisions? Because if you share your feelings, they know exactly, and they will often it's not as direct as something like that, because that's small and easy, but they will do something in your auric field to remove the obstacle in such a way as they don't take away your freedom, because we have free will. But you have asked. So we can make them very much apart. And with the kind of what we have to deal with in physicality, we can't. We don't have that sight to see the complexity of our auric field and the lights on and off and the flashes and the wounds and so on. But they do. But they will get it through your sharing with them. Is this helpful to you?
Very much. Rather, you answered many questions. I'm sure we all are going to benefit out of that for sure.
Yeah.
Because these are day-to-day challenges sometimes.
Yeah, it is. It is. I many years ago, I remember trying to work out various ways I was speaking about it, and I got a voice from one of my guides, and they said, every day God is trying to find for you the perfect hassle. Because that's the growth, that's the challenge, you know. So it's a challenge. It's not really an obstacle, but it's this big joker on the other side, sitting down in the council working out what are we going to give Nicky next.
Brilliant. Thank you. And Andy said, this is wonderful. So yes, it's very much appreciated. So we'll go to Ciela.
Hey, kia ora. Oh, blessings and thanks. This is wonderful and such a gift. And thank you for reminding me, and I'm sure we're reminding others as well, who we really are. It's just beautiful. You mentioned about the elementals. Would you share more of ways you connect and maybe what you see, or I don't know? Yeah.
Well, you can connect everywhere on this country. In New Zealand, I believe it has, you know, every place is special, but New Zealand has a special place for the elementals, because for hundreds of thousands of years, it was isolated. There was nobody lived here. They couldn't. It was super volcanoes. But the elementals were very strong, and the people in Mu knew that, and they used to travel to New Zealand sometimes. They'd be in temporary settlements because they wouldn't last with the changes in the land. But it was like an opening to Mu, and a lot of what happened with Mu when it went down the elementals moved to New Zealand, and so it's like being a secret repository, and it's time for that to come out. And the same happened in Ireland with Atlantis. So Ireland has even more obvious external connection with the elementals. You know, the elementals are seen much clearer than they are often in New Zealand because they're very shy. Even the Maori who talk about the patapariki, you know, and they're very shy. And the Maori also had the tapus, because when I've been on the marae and we've been talking about it, a lot of the people were a bit afraid of them, seeing them in the bush, because of the tapus. But I see them, and they are a little bit shyer, but they're coming out. But what I have been shown is that that they are all coming back, and they're part of, as we expand in our multidimensional consciousness, here's another dimension we'll become more aware of. But you see, they have been waiting. They were out undercover, without the veil in the times of Mu. Then they withdrew to their dimension, but they're coming back. And you know, one of the things that's going to bring them back is humans, because humans hold the key to the Christ consciousness, and they don't have that access to the Christ consciousness. So they're overjoyed at the thought of us coming back. So if you don't see them, pretend and talk to them like they are real, and you will see them. I'm telling you, you will. Your imagination, you can't imagine anything that isn't real. So play with them, talk to them. I have what I call the littlest fairy, and she comes and sits on my shoulder. And she talks to me about quantum physics. You wouldn't believe it, but through nature. Yeah. But they are everywhere. They are everywhere. And I know you are close to the fairy, are you not? Do you know the cards, Lucy Cavendish's cards? Have a look them up. They're called the Fairy Oracle, and it's by Lucy Cavendish. They're my favourite pack. They're the only. Go on.
It's funny you should say that. I've got, for the last 20 years, I've been using Brian Froud, his fairy cards, the guy that Labyrinth with David Bowie.
Yeah,
so, yeah. I love the fair. I do feel very connected. Yeah.
Do you talk to them?
Yeah, but I don't know if they're here. They don't talk back, but I talk to them.
Yeah, well, it is a matter of listening. Perhaps there's a little seed there that tells that you're telling yourself you're not worthy. Yeah, you are worthy, darling.
Thank you.
You are worthy. You're loved. So just listen, and whatever you hear is not. If it sounds like it's coming in your head, Don't put the thing on it, well, it's just in my head. Well, it is in your head. But there's something real there. Do you write down anything they say? Do you keep a journal?
I do journal, but not specific to the
How
faith.
about a little journal just for the feelings?
Yeah.
And sit under a tree and have a conversation. And it might sound like it's both sides are coming from you. It isn't.
Thank you.
Because they're coming back. They're coming back here. Gaia's made her move.
Yes.
She's made a move. And we're going with her. We're going with her. It's here now. The shift is here. In fact, any of you come across the Crimson Circle? Jeffrey Hoppy? Now, Adamus, that's right. Adamus said that the 22nd of this month, just gone, the shift began in earnest. It's like a crack in the cosmos. I call it a crack in the cosmic weave. But it's seeping in, which is opening all the veils. So it's up to us to make the move towards them. Remember what Jesus said, make one move towards me and I'll make, what was it, 100 or 1,000 towards you. They're ready. And you've got that innocence about you, which they'll love.
My dad was earnest as well, so even you just speaking his name, he passed 30 years ago, so he speaks to me sometimes.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's,
and this is a beautiful country for it.
yes.
Yeah.
I do feel like I'd come home when I came here, and yeah, just stepped off that plane and I knew I was supposed to be here. Not 12 years, I've not had one doubt, not one.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of us that have come here for this time. I believe.
Yeah. So go into the bush and say, I know you're shy guys, but I'm a shy one too. How about let's get in together?
Beautiful. Thank you. Barry.
Yes, good evening, Nicky, and thank you very much. I've got, I want to talk to you on a personal level for me, because I have been a leader most of my life.
Yeah.
So your first point that you put through is asking for help. My argument would be there are more needy people that should ask before me because of that natural instinct of mine. The next thing I wanted to pick up was on logic versus love. And as a leader, I love and I feel and I have a knowing that things are going to be beautiful and everything's going to work out well. But at the moment, what we're seeing is everything going downhill. It's deteriorating. There's more war, there's more talk about war, there's more things disappointing, and people not being transparent and being misleading in what they're saying and what they're doing. So if you are a leader, where do you lead? Because you don't know. And I find this whole thing very confusing. So I'm sitting here listening to you and going, yes, now you've just driven both sides of the coin. And I love that, and I love you, and I think you're doing a great job. However, I still don't know where to go.
Yeah. Well, it's shadow, the shadow. And I said the shadow's been hijacked. It has been hijacked for thousands and thousands of years. And so what we're seeing, everything collapsing, you know, the moral fabric seems to be collecting. It hasn't. It's always been undercover, and now it's coming to the surface. So we're not seeing anything that hasn't been there. It's just coming to the surface, and it's like, yeah, there's no more secrets. There's no more lies. So not only can the shadow not hide, the dark cannot hide, but neither can the unkind lies we've told ourselves remain, and us remain. And so I go back to the very first part you said, the need help, is unworthy, feeling unworthy. That is a very common, it's very common. That's all very well for me to say, but it is huge that we have never been made to feel worthwhile for ourselves. And the irony is you cannot, no one else can do it for you. We have to learn it ourselves. But we are worthy. But we have to move from here to here, 18 inches. Choice, instead of making our choices here, making our choices here. That's not to say logic isn't of value, but logic follows heart, not the other way round. So that's the shift. That's the big shift. And it's very difficult because we've had so much programming the other way. So when they come, you know, even when I was doing psychology in the early stages, I remember learning about memory and learning and so on. Well, one thing that stuck to me and I found really worked was the whole idea of incubation. You're working on a problem, say as a scientist, working on a problem, and you can't find a solution. You know, you tried all sorts of, looked at other people's work and looked for a solution, you can't find it. Using the principle of incubation, and that was simply, okay, I've got a stuck point, deliberately, I'm going to forget about it completely and allow the solution to come. And it comes. It might take weeks, it may be hours, but to let it go, that's the key, to let go and allow. What we're doing here with the future, we've got all our gifts. You see, you don't just have the gifts you've learned this lifetime. You have the gifts of all other lifetimes there. But we need to expand in order to receive the information of those gifts. So we've got to let go. To go within and allow. That there are, I don't know what I don't know. Brilliant statement, but you know what I mean. We don't know what we don't know. And so there's the job. I don't know, I want to find out. I'm excited about it. I haven't a clue what's going to happen, but I trust. I trust. So it's about trusting self. Trusting the universe, that the universe is going to bring you what you need, and going and playing by ear, playing it by ear, step by step, no longer trying to fix it.
Okay, so if we go by trust, everybody should do the same, because each trust is individual. And therefore...
Not everybody should do the same.
Not everybody should trust?
No, because it's about you trusting. If you trust, the world changes. Your experience of the world changes, and thus the world changes, and everybody is affected. But when they trust, how they trust, what they trust in, is totally up to them. I'm not there to fix them at all.
Okay, then that confuses me, because I feel I'm being pushed into or being asked to go into a leadership role again. And I'm too old, but that's okay. I can do it. But how can I ask people to trust if I don't know, can't see, don't understand, and can't discern between the dark and the light? And that's quite scary to say that.
Yeah. I know. So, first of all, do you want to lead? Do you want to do this?
I've never wanted to lead, but I just happened to go there.
Yeah.
I've always been that way. You know, was it Winston Churchill that says some lead and some get thrown in the deep end? I tend to get the one getting thrown in. But you know, I run banks, and I'm a high-ranking martial artist, and so on. So leadership has always followed me. Now I want to lead here into the new world, because I think there are many obstacles that I see that others don't, and I would like to protect, and I'd like to get other people through. And like I believe a good leader, I would be the last to leave the ship if she's sinking.
Yeah. Well, you have passion. You have a passion, and you know that you have gifts to offer, but it's recognizing it's still letting go. It's like saying, I'm not going to work. I'm not going to be focused on how it's all going to work out. I'm just going to take it step by step. But I'm going to bring in the company of heaven. I'm going to bring in my help. And my work is as much tuning into my comfort as it is to doing my skills. That you go by comfort. Like I say, listen to your heart. How does it feel? Do you get a yes or a no? And you usually, first thought is right thought, no or yes. And when you say yes, you don't have to have a reason. Or when you say no, you don't have to have a reason. You don't have to justify yourself to anyone. And it's a practice, if you like. It's a dynamic that will help you be able to be comfortable whichever direction you go.
That's happened, and I got a yes, and I went, oh no, I don't want a yes.
Yeah.
But okay.
So you get the yes and you follow it, and even if it takes you up the gum tree, that is, if you like, will have its power not of failure but of learning. If you're not bound, attached to any of it, then you have a choice of doing any. But that yes, no that you get is really important, because it's going to lead you in the new direction you want to go, as you said, to the new world, and take your skills, but with heart and passion, and to feel comfortable in what you're doing, and more true, and to feel confidence about that, rather than being deceived.
Well, at the moment, I see everybody deceiving, but that's because I'm looking for the truth.
Yeah, and that's because you're suspicious of yourself.
Yeah, and my history. I've been deceived many times.
Yeah.
Look, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, well, it's like the three trusts. Like when I started my counseling and therapy, there was so much to learn, and yet I wanted to do this. And it came to the conclusion that it worked out for me. Trust that you don't have to know everything. That when the client's coming, they're going to indicate to you what they need. So trust myself. trust the other person that they're going to be something, even if it leads to, oh, go on, bugger off, you're wasting my time, right? And trust the universe. The universe only saying yes to us, even in all these difficult times. It's only saying yes to you. Here is an opportunity. Here's another opportunity. Trust your own yes, no, and follow it day by day. You know, shall I have a coffee now or later? Just do the sort of mundane things as well. Get used to the feeling.
I've been presented with sorts of things that are saying to me, this is part of the preparation, and things that are happening, and I'm going, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
But I'm not quite on board yet mentally.
No. Well, you've got to be brave, and you know, it requires bravery to let go of the old. Yeah. But you're obviously aware enough. Yeah, you'll do it. It's just leap. You know, that one. Come to the edge, he said. I can't. I'm scared. Come to the edge. I went a bit further in the end. Come to the edge. He's right on the edge. He said, I'm afraid. And he pushed him and he flew.
That would be lovely. I'd like to fly, but
yeah, but it's taking the leap, the leap of faith, and the leap of faith isn't to you. You haven't come this far just to fall. I'm telling you, you haven't come this far. Beautiful man.
Thank you, beautiful man. I appreciate it. You know, we'll have a glass of champagne up on wherever it is at the high places I end up at.
Okay.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you. Thanks, Bez. Nicky, can you tell me the name again of the fairy pack or fairy cards?
Yes, it's called the Fairy Oracle.
And the lady that wrote them?
Lucy, Lucy,
Yes.
Cavendish. Lucy Cavendish, Cavendish.
Wonderful.
She's Australian.
Okay.
But the book, the cards are for sale. I think they're for sale on Amazon. Yeah, and I think she's done a dragon's deck and something else. But I met Lucy many years ago, but I don't use cards much. That's the only pack. Oh, the I Ching, and those are the only cards I've ever used. But that's because I feel so close to the fairies.
Right. So I've got a question about the energy of New Zealand and past, and how that plays into the picture of what's coming. What's New Zealand's role in this new world that we're moving into? Does it have a specific role that you're aware of? What's the energy that we hold for the whole process of transformation?
I don't know whether it's distinctive or not. The land holds its own feel about it, like all the lands you go anywhere in the world, and they're also different, you know, in feeling. Well, I find that. But no, I think it's, you see, New Zealand is special in the sense that we haven't a big karmic overlay in New Zealand, apart from the skirmishes when the whites, you know, when the Pākehās came to New Zealand. We haven't had a lot of that. I mean, there were tribal battles and things like that, but there's not huge, deep wounds of human human karmic wounds in the land, and so it's easily healed, and a lot of it has already been healed by people who have visited and others who've done their work. So there's not a lot of scars there. So that means that it's a way of, it is probably one of the things that will do is what it does now. People visit it and something happens to them. And I think that's one of the things I think is distinctive. It's not the only country, but it is big in that way. I think that the elementals will come out and move to other places in the world where they're not so frequent, through places like Ireland and New Zealand. Yeah, I think we'll probably have, we'll move very quickly once we get rid of those who live in such uncommon sense in the beehive. that New Zealand can move very quickly, probably quicker than most countries, because we're a small country and we have so many wonderful resources. So perhaps we can become an example in some way to movements that will help others as they build.
Okay, thank you. Now I've got a question in the chat. Can you elaborate on the shadow that's been hijacked? Is there a excuse me, is there a way to improve it or to reverse it to its original state?
We're already reversing it. Every time we choose light over light on versus over light off, we make it easier. We're clearing shadow and calling in our company to help clear it, because shadow, people seem to think that, you know, when you pass over, you go into spirit and it's all love and light. There's still things going on in spirit, at spirit levels, shadow, because we live in the shadow universe. So there's an awful lot of deep darkness to be cleared, as it were. And we're not in a place when we can clear it in our own auric field in terms of our present lifetime, and as we expand in terms of our previous lifetimes. But there's a lot more to do, because just as the light goes on and on and on, the dark has been deeper and deeper. So there's no quick route. There's no quick route to it. But we just can become more capable of, first of all, building the life that we dreamed of and we long for on this planet. It's about time. And we're going to do it. It may take many, many years for it to filter to everyone, the level of consciousness. But this is one of the beauties of we're here holding a hand out to the next person to climb up. And there's this layer of mentoring that's going to go on. As we move into communities, there's going to be a layer. There's one person thinks all they can offer is their labour, but offer it willingly. When it's received as a beautiful gift that it is, they get their worth. They move to other things that they never thought of doing. And this is going to take time, but it can move quickly relative to the history of humanity. But it's not going to be all glorious, 5D all at once. I don't think so. I've never I never personally accept this idea that suddenly there's going to be, you know, the rapture and we're all going to be happy. No, because we earn it. I don't mean, yeah, no, I shouldn't say we earn it, but we grow, we have learning curves, and that's what gives us our truth, our strength, is those learning curves. But have I answered the question? What was the question?
The question was, can you elaborate on the shadow that's been hijacked? And
Yeah.
is there a way to improve it?
Yeah, the shadow, you know, because I think of it, if you think of it without it being hijacked, what would shadow do? It'd be like an oyster has a little bit of grit in there. And what comes from it? A pearl. The shadow is a point you're shown something, and then you have to make a decision. And if you don't want it, you've got to encase it with something beautiful. And that's our opportunity to create. So in the free will universe, I can't see us without shadow. When I define it as choice point, a choice point. Yeah. Being hijacked, as I've said, it's deep. It's deep. But we're not the only ones. I mean, we've got high spirit beings who go higher and higher and greater radiance, who are also beaming their love light into the matrix, into the, but the human matrix requires human will. So we have to offer, I mean, we can offer ourselves as conduits of higher light. So they can now bring their light through us because we've asked. But until we ask, they stand back. Because if you like universal laws, you cannot interfere. If you know better, you can't interfere. Everyone has their free will.
Beautiful, thank you. Andy.
Nicky, how do you protect yourself against the shadow?
Well, feeling it, when I feel it, I just call in my guide. I mean, I think I have to discern it. I mean, I know when somebody's nefarious like that, and I will bring down my sense of no, not on my watch. But I always check daily. I always check. If there's anything in my auric field that's jumped in and I haven't seen it, can you remove it?
Is anxiety part of the shadow?
No, it's anxiety is emotional, isn't it? It's emotional and it's tied to thoughts, right? So the thoughts maintain the anxiety. The basic, we say that the basic antithesis of love is fear. But fear, we have this basis of fear for protection. I mean, car comes round the corner fast, you're stepping off, you jump back and your heart goes and so on. That is absolutely necessary for survival, physical. So fear is necessary, but that's the only fear that's necessary. The rest is all mind. It's attached to things that are not actually threatening your life. And we're building up that. So it's coming to telling yourself another story, not buying the story that you're selling. And to do that, you need to be able to learn to step back. So, I mean, if I'm feeling something, or you're watching something on the media, and you know, it's very easy to get rolled up by listening to our media because of the nonsense that's spoken, and I can catch myself being drawn into it, then I make a choice. Step back, hand on heart, take a breath, forget that, take a breath. Now, see it. And usually I'll end up smiling. You fell for it again. You fell for it, Nicky. You fell for it again. But we get quicker and quicker at that. We get quicker and quicker with practice. Because it's all nonsense. It's all nonsense.
Mm.
The other thing is, you know, it might be helpful to you, I mean, is to realize, like, I can close my eyes, feel myself, open them. This is a movie. These shells I'm seeing in front of me, the computer, your image, it's all a movie. And here I am, just seeing that movie. Now I choose to immerse myself in it. But it's a movie. And when we can learn to switch to that place of it being a movie, is another tool which helps us disengage. And what we're disengaging to is your soul being, the watcher, that which knows, that which smiles, that which is watching this Nicky fellow go through his, whatever he goes through, loving him all the way, and giving him clues when he asks. And that's me too, but it's me at a totally different level of self. And it's practicing doing those little things like switching to it being a movie or hand on heart. And the more you do it, the quicker you become, and the less you get engaged and caught up in going somewhere you don't want to go.
Thank you. Alan.
Hi, Nicky. Thanks for what you're inspiring us with. Could you tell me at what level do you think the movie stops? At what dimensional level?
The movie will go on as a three-dimensional movie. It's in identity. It's just you can play in that movie, but you don't have to be attached to it. So therefore you can do and create whatever you wish. It's a matrix. We talk about a matrix because somebody is trying to control everyone else. But the movie itself is not a matrix. It's just a level of experiencing with the five senses.
So it's our consciousness that is creating the movie.
Our consciousness, yes. We're creating our feelings.
But is it only applicable in the third dimensional? So when we move to the fifth or the sixth, are we still in that movie at those levels, or are they beyond the movie?
We say they're beyond the movie, but you see it all interplays together. This is what makes it do. We're multi-dimensional, all interplays. As you expand your awareness, you start to become aware of all these things which intertwine. Past, present, and future becomes one. And all these dimensions are there available, so you can choose which way you go, which one you go to, if you like. Go to, you're not going anywhere. Your consciousness embraces it.
Yep.
So, you know, this is why the Indians call it a Maya, illusion. This is the world of illusion, Maya. But it's just the form in which things take. It's the 3D, it's a dense form. It's denser, its frequency is lower, a slower frequency.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. And we have an agreement, a collective agreement. We belong to the human race. We have a collective agreement to share certain experiences, which makes it even more, if you like, objective, and it's not really objective.
Thank you.
So we see the same things. Yeah, it's just an experience. This is why one of the greatest difficulties is to put aside the mental mind and not create. We create a division by saying ego. You mustn't forget in your ego. You must get rid of your ego. I've heard a lot of spiritual people say that. You can't. You can't get rid of your ego. Ego is an expression which tells you you're not there. It's your greatest friend. In the Indians, the goddess Kali represents the ego, and she's the fiercest of all. But she's the greatest benefactor because she tells you when you're not on target. So befriend your ego. And forget about the separation, getting away from 3D. You see, we will have mastered 3D when we can enjoy it. When we're here on this planet, enjoying each other's company, living in abundance, being able to travel wherever we want, to be able to travel to the stars without the need of spaceships, to be able to do all these things. How amazing it is going to be. Let's bring it into the present through our imagination and let all the shadow rise and go, oh, because there's no opposition, offer no resistance, it's got to go. Let's go and build.
Thank you.
It's lovely to see you two there together. What beautiful smiles. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys. Any other questions?
Oh, good. I can go and have a cup of coffee. Go on.
It's not a question. I just want to say, wow, what an awesome night it's been. It's fantastic. Thank you.
You're most welcome.
We've got one from Lynn.
Actually, I was just going to say exactly what Andy said. He got in there just a few minutes before me. Yes, what a pleasure and what a blessing to be in the company of you all and listening to you, Nicky. It was once again, it's your talk brought so many facets of my curiosity together. I spend my days now, you know, just collecting wisdom from as many places as it presents itself every day. I had a fantastic this morning sitting in satsang with some beautiful people, and even there was other stuff coming in, and yeah, thank you, just beautiful. Thank you very much. So blessed.
I know what you're saying because I've just been with people and there's so much richness coming out from every corner of the human psyche. Yeah, it's amazing.
It feels as if it's almost coming in faster, almost as if it's like, whoa, I go to bed. It's like, wow, that was the day. And
Yeah,
for the next day. And sometimes it's a Zoom call at 4 o'clock in the morning, and it's like, okay. And then sometimes it's just bumping into somebody. I had a beautiful conversation with the man that was doing the traffic thing.
Mhm.
I was held up for 10 minutes. And then we was having this gorgeous conversation with this young man. It was his birthday that day. And I was listening to opera, and we had this conversation with this 30-year-old man about opera. And just like, that was cool.
Yeah, just imagine how it's going to be, how when we do get together in these small communities and start building much more, and all the lights that are going to come on, and all the people with their various skills, it's going to be hard to ever go to sleep.
Yeah, I'm catching up on the sleep now just to prepare.
Yeah, right. That was something, something. Looking at the energies, I thought a lot of people are feeling dizzy and are very tired and so on, and have maybe on and off for a long time. But I drew a fairy card, and the word was slow down. Now, I've had gout, and I suffer from gout in the past. I know how to cure it, what to take naturally, but this gout just wouldn't go away. It was agony, and I couldn't walk, and I've had about 6 or 8 weeks unable to walk really without great agony, and I realised it's just another opportunity, and I see that people are breaking legs and doing various things like this, and yet they've done the work and wonder why. But there's a lot of indicators that at this time, and the card said, slow down. It's a picture of a fairy, and she's kneeling on the ground, and she's got her head right down, and she's looking eye to eye with a snail. and the card says slow down. And this seems to make sense when you think that we're expanding. I said there's a crack in the cosmic weave, and the light is flowing in now freely and will continue, and it will grow and grow and grow and grow. And all it requires is us to love ourselves more and to be open to it. But some of the symptoms will be telling you to slow down, because as we expand and become more multidimensional, it's very important that we get slower, not faster, speed up. You see, the negative energies are fast. Do the opposite, slow down. If you're having to sleep a lot or you're tired a lot, rest. Put yourself in the arms of your entourage. Say, guys, clear my order. I've got to go out to it for a while. Bring their presence in. But don't worry so much about these things, some of the physical things that really hurt. The body is in tune with the truth of Gaia. You're having to learn to ground in an entirely different way. Now I can walk, but what I've learned is that I've got to even stand up consciously. I have to walk slowly. I have to balance going down the stairs slowly. I have to put my feet on Gaia carefully with full consciousness. It's bringing me present. So every cloud has a silver lining, because everything that's happening to all of you is happening on purpose. Believe it, guys, believe it.
Beautiful. All right, last question, and then we'll let you go, Nicky.
It's not so much a question, but just a comment, really. That's beautiful, living in the present and just taking and absorbing everything in as you go. That's so important, and that's such a good reminder. Thank you. What I did hear you say right at the beginning is that we're taking life too seriously, and and it's quite hard at the moment not to take it seriously with everything that's happening. But it's also a really good reminder to dive into that inner child and into that imagination. And I think that's what touched me is, as you're saying, to stop and do that. And I was going to say to you, how do you personally tap into that joy, that inner child? What do you do to tap into your? I know what I do, but I was just curious as to what you did to tap into your inner child and bring that joyousness into your present.
I've always played. I've always tried things. You know, I'll do a bit of drawing or colouring in mandalas. I've written a book on that. Colouring in mandalas, or I'll make a model of something, gardening. But I suppose the common denominator in all that for me is singing. I sing my praises to creation and love songs to myself and to anybody else I can think of. And I write, I think, I find joy in being alive, and so I try and do that with, I do it with lots of things, not one thing in particular. I like to potter in the shed, so I've got a very messy man cave. Have you got one too? Have you? Yeah, don't anybody touch it. Yeah. I remember I started the job. I was my job at the professor at Hong Kong, in Hong Kong, and my head of department came in one time and said, "Your desk is very messy. Clean it up." I said, "No, I won't, because I won't find anything if I clean it up." Yeah, I think any opportunity, I'll try anything, because I like new, I like surprises. So I can't say one thing. Just everything is fair game.
Organised chaos. I mean, that's a gift that my dad gave to both myself and my children.
Right.
Was imagination. Imagination is something that can take you to that place, whether it be reading a book and imagining it or wherever. And so that kind of touched me, is using that as your way to get to that happy, joyous space and leave some of the worries of the world behind. So thank you for reminding me.
That's right. And I have a project that I have had since 1970 something, a project that gradually formed, and I've submitted it and all sorts of things like that. But even though it's still a way off, I enjoy thinking about it. I enjoy feeling what's going to happen as people come together in this project. And I must have lived it over 100 times. I've got the joy of that project, and how exactly it pans out and when is in God's hand, in the universe's hand. But I know it's coming, and I know, that I'm going to love every moment of it, because I'm loving all those moments now in the imagining of it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're really honoured to have you come and spend this time. Thank you. Thank your beautiful wife for allowing you to come and spend some time with us. And yeah, I've put in the chat for anyone that wants to follow Nicky on his Facebook page. Also, his books are available on Amazon. And yeah, any final words from you, Nicky?
No, just love yourselves more. Give yourself at least 3 self-hugs a day, and really give your, you know, you can hug other people. Hug yourself. You so deserve it. Don't be so hard on yourself. I so love you all. Thank you for the opportunity of being with you.
Thank you. Blessings.